I was just going to say a little something about what I found out just last night that professional wrestler Teddy Hart was arrested. Today is going to be Sunday in a few hours. Um, I gather it was Friday or it could have been kind of late Thursday night. Um, I believe in the state of Virginia. Um, and of course, there's Maria and Ted's Unfiltered YouTube and I think Facebook and Twitter that a lot of people have talked about. Some people, well, you just have to see it for yourself. Um, um, some people have gone so far as to say that Maria seems to suffer from something like Stockholm syndrome or be quote unquote brainwashed. Me personally, I see them both as smart and even streetwise, which serves people well in the wrestling business, certainly, having some street smarts. And I see it just as very mutual. They both get whatever they want out of it. They make their bed and they lie in it. Now, sure, she might find it very difficult to leave, to depart from that relationship, but that is so often the case. Um, that doesn't mean that Teddy has some type of mystical hold over her, or not one that she does not mutually take part in anyway. But it seems apparent that Teddy left the hotel, and I believe he just left wearing his pajamas, took the car, probably the Maserati you see them in with the cheap, some people say dollar store ceramic decorations and whatnot glued to the steering wheel, and one or two of his cats and a disco ball in the back seat where they can go back to the trunk and know where it is to use the cat litter. He trains a rare breed of cat, I guess one of or the highest, most easily trained cats. And I do hear that he has something like ownership in something like 13 no-kill shelters, and kudos to Teddy for that. Some animal people complain. Sometimes he'll leave his favorite cat on a turnbuckle during a match, but I think the cat is safe, knows what it's doing, and been there enough to understand what's going on. And also Teddy and the other are professional. And anyway, I don't criticize him for that, and I think it's great about the no-kill shelters. Sometimes I see the kitties, he's driving, maybe doesn't have his seatbelt on, smoking a blunt, and they have some eye problems, but overall, certainly happy. I know he loves them and does a lot for them and even other cats with the shelters. I have no doubt about that at all. I think that's great. I'm that way myself with cats, and I love dogs. I just want to have my own place, hopefully a place with some yard or a little bit of acreage, a bit of a ranch before I take another dog. I want a dog from the time it's young, from the time it's a pup, to raise before it can develop any bad habits from a owner that's not teaching it correctly, because I find that they will pick those up from a young age and be very hard to overturn. You want to get them from a pup. But I digress a little bit. I did a little bit of research, and Virginia is just slightly different from Washington State. We have Class C felonies. They have in Virginia classifications 1 through 5. 1 and 2 are heroin, meth, ecstasy, cocaine. 3 is anabolic steroids, other steroids, ketamine, drugs like that. 4 is for things like Xanax, Percodan, hydrocodone. 5 is for even lesser, probably marijuana and others. So he had third class. I believe he might have had weed, sure, but that he had anabolic steroids and ketamine. But he's also being charged with possession and possession with intent, which means intent to distribute, to sell, which the way it is in Washington State, possession is called BUCSA now, which BUCSA is Violation Uniform Controlled Substance Act. It's a Class C felony, which is one small step above a gross misdemeanor, which carries, say, 0 days to 12 months, 1 year in a county jail, where a regular misdemeanor carries 0 to 90 days. Any felony can carry 1 year, 365 days plus a day, or more that can earn actual prison time. You know, some defenders will go before the judge and actually request, rather than 1 year, 1 year plus 1 day. Because in that instance, they get to go to the state penitentiary. They earn, for sure, 1/3 good time if they behave, whereas in a county jail, they may not be guaranteed that 1/3 good time off for good behavior, and it's just more freedom, going to the yard, programs, far better institution. But it looks as though the Class 3 drug possession is what they're calling a Class 5, which is one small step below their lowest felony. So I would consider that like a gross misdemeanor, one step below our Class C felony, which is our lowest felony in Washington State. So basically 0 to 12 months of a possible jail time. Some can be converted to time served, to community service, can apply to do some on community service, or even to defer the whole thing, suspend the whole sentence for 6 months, a year, or what have you. And if you're free of any trouble on probation during that time, it simply goes away. Something like that's possible. I don't think Teddy has any priors for drugs anyway. He's got some kind of prior, at least one. And he also may have a DUI along with this case. I'm not 100% clear on that. But the possession, if he goes to a plea bargain, there's not a lot of sense in going all the way to trial in most cases. Generally, the lower case will just be dropped for a willingness to plead guilty to the other charge. So possession with intent. But both looked as though the highest standard could be 12 months, and I assume they would both run concurrent, so either way, basically a possible 12 months. So with up to 12 months, I would assume that looking at some type of jail time. The way it works in my state, they have a point system. Class C felonies are 1 point. B felonies, which intent to distribute or distribution are a B felony, I believe are 2 points. Your first felony, a Class C, 1 point, 0 to 60 days. Your second is 2 to 5 months. Third is 3 to 9. Fourth, I believe, is 6 to 12. Fifth is 12 to 14. On up to 9 or 9 plus, which is always a minimum of 60 months, which is 5 years. So Teddy probably has one prior. I don't know that it's a felony. So even with a felony conviction, it would be like a Class C felony. It's up to 12 months, but it should be a more minimal amount of time. But probably a little bit of jail time. So I don't know it would be worth bailing out unless he has things he really needs to take care of. You hear a lot of people talk a lot of different things on the wrestling sites because these are wrestling podcasters, commentators, fans. So just from someone who's had a little bit of experience, the long and shorts of what he most likely would be facing, and I think Teddy could handle any of these and come out unscarred. Like I said, he could be out and tearing it up and in the ring before he can say kibbles and bits, you know. that's about all I have to say on the matter. You know, you see Teddy and Maria and the controversial, but they have the Hart family and loved ones in the ongoing Samantha Fiddler saga, and I don't think Teddy is endearing himself to a lot of people with the nightly, nighttime comings and goings, the nightlife, and the podcast him and Maria have, especially while Samantha is still missing, talking about it in the ring, and let people judge for themselves. I just hope and pray, have a missing one in my own family, that Samantha's loved ones get a result, even if it's not good, that the truth of the matter comes out very soon, because like they've said, the not knowing is worse than even being the victim of a violent crime. Just the flat not knowing, and not having your loved one, having enough years go by, you have to assume they're deceased, but not having them at home, buried in a plot with the rest of your loved ones. But that's all for now. Okay, thanks, guys.